Welcome back to the Takeout. Democrats look at New York Republican Congressman Mike Lawler's Hudson Valley District 17th as one of the most gettable for them this November. Lawler will face combat veteran and Biden administration national security staffer Kate Conley, who won last night's primary. Here was California Democratic Congressman and chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Pete Aguilar, on the importance of that particular race. Listen.
The path to 218 isn't through those districts that the mayor endorsed in. The path to 218 and to Democrats getting rid of the chaos and the insanity that we see is through districts like New York 17, where Kate Conley got through her primary and is going to beat Lawler. I mean, that's what this is about.
And Kate Conley joins me now. Congratulations on your primary victory. You heard Pete Aguilar describe your race and the importance thereof and predicting you're going to beat Mike Lawler. How are you going to do that?
Major, I love that prediction, and I agree. But we certainly have a lot of work ahead of us between now and November to make that true, to make the case to the voters of New York 17 that ultimately they deserve better. You know, their lives since Mike Lawler was elected in November of 2022 have only gotten harder. For people working full-time jobs, they're struggling to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads, make ends meet. And since he's been elected, all of that has gotten harder, not easier. And that reality is going to catch up with Mike Lawler this fall and offering people a better option, not a political operative who's out for himself and his next political gig, but a public servant who's already demonstrated that I'm willing to make any sacrifice for this country, for our families, for our community. And change is coming.
I don't know if you heard the first block of the show, Kate, but there was a quote that we ran from Speaker Mike Johnson, who said, Democratic socialists and the Mamdani influence on the Democratic Party is a dangerous thing. It's not a joke. We're fighting to save our republic. Steve Scalise, the majority leader, called it the Bolshevik Revolution of 2026. I know you're not a Democratic socialist. You don't have to answer for those who are, but you know these attacks are going to come at you because Republicans are going to say you are just like those Democratic socialists who won last night in New York City.
Well, let's first call out the hypocrisy of Mike Johnson claiming that anything other than a Republican-controlled Congress is dangerous to the American people right now. What we have seen with this administration, enabled by cowards in Congress like Mike Lawler, is a blank check for the Trump administration, who's only looking out for themselves and their billionaire buddies while working people pay the price, literally and figuratively. We just saw Mike Lawler vote for H.R. 1, the one big ugly bill last year, that gutted Medicaid, that ripped health care away from 37,000 people right here in our district. So when we talk about dangerous, I will tell you, for working people here in the Hudson Valley, a Republican-controlled Congress is what's been dangerous for their daily lives. And when it comes to what people are seeking right now, I think what we saw last night, Major, is that people want a fighter. They want someone that they believe is going to get in there and not accept that problems are too hard to solve. That's going to go and push for solutions, not excuses. And that is what we demonstrated here in New York 17, where voters chose a proud West Point graduate, decorated Army combat veteran of 16 years and 6 tours. And I'm so humbled to have this honor.
If I were to be a constituent of yours, meaning someone who was thinking about voting for you, and I said, well, how do you differ from Democratic socialists in New York City about the future of ICE? And how do you differ from them about the future of U.S. aid to Israel? What would you tell that person?
As somebody who's dedicated my life to keeping America safe since 9/11, going off to West Point, serving the Army, having the privilege of a lifetime to lead America's sons and daughters, I would say the American government has a responsibility to ensure the safety and security of the American people. That includes border security. That includes having law enforcement that is serving our communities. And what is hurting people most right now is how our government is failing to address the kitchen table issues. The affordability crisis is real. After the last 15 months on the trail, I can tell you that is the number one thing I hear every day. Seniors on fixed incomes talking about having to make trade-offs between groceries and prescriptions. Families working 2 jobs who are afraid they're going to lose their homes. That is what government is failing to address. And if we don't focus on that, if we don't do better, we're not going to gain people's trust, and thus we're not going to gain their votes.
Real quickly, then, you would not support abolishing ICE, I'm gathering from that answer. And let me just ask you directly, would you be in favor of ending all U.S. support for Israel currently?
So when we talk about supporting immigration, we do have a broken immigration system that needs to be fixed. When we're talking about what we saw happen earlier this year in January, where federal agents on American streets assaulted, harassed, and killed American citizens, the very people they are sworn to serve and protect, and have this administration, instead of calling for transparency and investigations, cover it up, that's unhinged and un-American. That's not a Republican or Democratic issue. That's an American issue. And so when we talk about the rule of law here in America, I fought for a country where the rule of law applies to everyone, from the president to federal agents to regular people. And so I do believe that people who commit crimes, including federal agents, need to be held legally accountable. When it comes to the conflict in the Middle East, I will tell you, as someone who has been to war multiple times, the last thing I want to ever see is another generation of anyone's sons or daughters have to go to war. We got to get it on a pathway to a two-state solution. We have to find ways to reconstruct and rebuild to ensure ceasefires persist, and then get third parties in to be a peacekeeping force. And also talk about Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. And we do have a responsibility to ensure that Israel continues to exist as a nation, the Jewish people are protected, that we stop rising anti-Semitism here in America. But we can also say, just like I am a proud American and I criticize Donald Trump, I can support the state of Israel and criticize the administration, how it conducts itself. That's what democracies do.
Kate Conley, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.